Hi, everyone. We have an announcement.
On the July 30th episode of Write Better Together, we will be interviewing the Paul Gay, the writer of The Little Rascals. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
I can't even
gosh.
believe it. It's just like everything it could possibly be in one episode.
So, stay tuned.
Nothing beats a buck and a duck. Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers.
Hi, what's up with you?
Not much.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we are going to be sharing part 2 of our interview with Pinar Tarhan. And so between these two episodes, we haven't gotten out of our bubble much, have we?
Yeah, because we just filmed the previous episode 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, but we are going to. So we are going to respond to our another call to action, and we're going to do another final act. Only I have to do it this time. So
get to do it, not have to do it. You get
you're
to
right.
do it.
I get to do it. And but Pinar is going to be talking more about productivity and unconventional tips that she has, and she's also going to talk more about her romance novels.
Yeah, about writing in a series
Mm-hmm.
and what
a series that
is like.
Yeah, a series that is kind of standalone novels, but together, which is cool.
Interesting. That's why we have her out for two episodes.
Yes.
I did get out of my bubble, just not during that half hour.
What? That would be impressive if you did.
I didn't even walk to the mailbox during that half hour. So Saturday, Pete Davidson was in town. I did not go.
Oh.
However, I know the hotel where he was staying, and I won't name it because that's where the famous people stay when they come here. And so I went by there because I was going to see if I could pull a prank on him. And then if I pulled a prank on him, then I could talk about it on the podcast. So that was
how you got arrested. You could talk about what jail is like.
No, because I read online that people were like, now that Home Depot does DoorDash, right, and they'll find out the hotel where The Rock is staying or Pete Davidson's staying, they'll send a bunch of let's all send hammers to Pete Davidson. And then every DoorDash keeps bringing him hammers. So I wanted to, if I could see him, I was going to prank him. I did not see him. And however, right across the street from the hotel is a giant park, and with a fountain and all that. And there was a mini festival, a craft show festival going on. There was a bouncy house, and it was packed. And so there was probably 5,000, 6,000 people there. And again, it was a diverse melting pot. There were gay people, straight people, white people, black people, every kind of demographic, rich people, poor people, all families, single people, all just having a wonderful time together in this park. And I was just so proud of my town and my undisclosed location. And so I started texting my friends, and were like, there's no other town that can pull this off as well. Mm-hmm. So when we have an international festival, 50,000 people have come to it in the past, and without incident, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, other towns are be people driving into the crowd and just crazy. There'd be crazy problems, and no problems, no incidents, and everyone was clearly, by the countenance on their face, enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
All different diversity types. And then and so I texted a couple of my people and told them how proud I was. And then the next day, I read about all the people that got thrown out of the Pete Davidson concert.
Oh no.
Or the show, because they were mouthing off, they wouldn't shut up. And I was so embarrassed for my town. I was thinking Pete Davidson's going to look outside of his hotel window and be like, look at all these people from all diverse categories getting along together, and be impressed. And instead it was just people who wouldn't shut up and like wouldn't let him tell his jokes. And
Oh,
and so now I'm embarrassed. Now I was embarrassed. And to put a final point on it, the the people who weren't the people that were thrown out, and so he was here for 2 shows. People were thrown out of both shows. He was so polite and understanding to them, and he would be like, it's a me thing, not a you thing, and there's 1,400 people here, and all I'm hearing is you talking to your friend, like, and it's throwing the way my brain works, it's throwing my brain off, and I can't even hear the other 1,400 people laughing because as a performer, I'm like zeroed in on you, and like I've asked 3 times, just please, like, understand for me. Like, he was like so genuinely
wow.
nice about it, and more than one person had reported that about how nice it was. And then security comes and takes him out. Like, he didn't like call security or like anything. And there were some in the balcony that security took out that he wasn't even aware of. But so he's never coming back. And my beautiful small town festival, like that I thought was going to leave a good impression, now he has a bad impression. And so what's the takeaway from that?
My takeaway?
Yeah.
Well, people in concerts are annoying. I've had somebody yell behind me during... My husband and I went to the farewell concert of Me Without You, and somebody was talking loudly behind us the whole time when he could have gone to another room.
This is why we can't have nice things, right?
Yeah, people are why we can't have nice things. I do have... Can I have a follow-up story?
Yes.
I didn't get out of my bubble because I was sick, but you did remind me of something when you talked about famous people staying in hotels. So near Trevecca Nazarene University, my alma mater, the Christian university in the heart of Nashville, is a hotel called the Drake Hotel, where the stars stay. It has this rundown, really old, probably sketchy hotel. But guess who was there filming while my friends and I were at the Sonic across the street or down the street having milkshakes? Somebody very, very famous.
Is this Hey Jon Meyers? Am I supposed to guess now?
Early Hey Jon Meyers. This is somebody who...
So they were filming a movie there?
They were filming a movie. An actor, a comedian, unfortunately has since passed away.
Robin Williams.
Yes.
Dude, I got that right. Wow. So
we drove down. So their filmmakers were coming to get milkshakes. And so we were like, what are you all doing? And they were like, oh, we're filming a movie with Robin Williams. He was over at Trevecca filming on campus at Trevecca, where he was filming at the medical center. And so in the film, they drive him down Murfreesboro Road from the Drake Motel, I guess, to Trevecca or whatever. So we got in the car and we drove down to try to see him. And I was with my mom. And I'm trying so hard to see Robin Williams. My mom says, there he is. And I never saw him. If you could take like images from my brain at the time, like probably there, like he's there. But at the moment, really him? My brain didn't process. Oh yeah,
so your mom was right.
Yeah, because other people behind us also saw him and confirmed.
Oh,
so there we go. That's my story.
and you didn't prank him?
No. We just talked to the film crew and had milkshakes.
Wild.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we have call to action responses to read. Or a call, I do.
So you must have them all.
I have it. So a while ago, and by the way, y'all, we are running out of call to action responses. We need responses. So it doesn't matter how long ago we did the response, we still want to hear from you. So this is the first response that we've gotten on the question, what is a time suck that you need to get rid of so that you have more time writing? And Deborah Hodgett's answered, and her answer was very similar to mine. She says, a time suck for me is managing and navigating social media. Alas, it does have its benefits too. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. And I 100% agree, because I gave up social media for Lent, not realizing that we were going to be doing so much social media for this podcast. And so I had to separate, like, I gave up scrolling, but I had to, like, there were things on social media that I had to do for the sake of the podcast.
For work.
For
you
work.
You didn't give up work for Lent. You
right. I just gave up
doom
the
scrolling
doom scrolling, yes, which I think is something we should all aspire to.
I believe Deborah Hodgett wrote that from the south of France in Montpellier.
Oh, wow.
Was she the one that was from there? Do you remember? I think she is. So
wow.
I think so. If I got that wrong, Deborah, sorry about that.
Sorry. So yeah, I hope to hear more of those. I'm really curious what other time sucks people are wanting to get rid of.
And don't say your children.
Yeah, don't.
That's so rude.
But speaking of productivity.
Well, yes. I wanted to add something about how we need the call to actions.
Yeah.
So we have more viewers and listeners than ever before. And I think the reason for that, I want to just double down on what Emily said. I think the reason for the more people involved coming into the community, but less answers to the call to action, is because I think that we've given the impression that every week there's a new one. And
right.
So, oh, you missed that one. Well, people, you can see by the patterns of how they're watching, there's like all of a sudden episode 2 jumps up, right? And now we're on
right.
episode 6 or so. I don't even know what we're on now. And so it jumps up. Cindy Begel, a writer from Laverne and Shirley, watched episode 2 the other day. And so when people like one of them and share them, then that gets more viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want everyone to know that you can answer any question at any time in any way.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Which is what right. I just said. 100%. That's what you say. I'm taking on your mannerisms.
I do.
Oh, yeah, good. You always say, "Yep, 100%." But speaking of productivity,
yes,
we're going to share the rest of our interview with Pinar Tarhan. And in case you missed it, she is a rom-com novelist, freelance writer, and blogger. She loves creating short, escapist, fun, ensemble romances that even men enjoy. She's going to be talking a bit more about those in this part of the interview. Her nonfiction work has been featured on CNN, The Washington Post, Thrillist, and WOW, Women on Writing. She's also passionate about glam metal. We should have asked her about that. Movies, TV series, reading, beach vacations, and traveling. She speaks 2.75 languages and is currently working on her 4th rom-com novel, A Change Would Do You Best, the 3rd and last book in the A Change Would Do You Good series. So here is our interview.
In a second, you're going to talk about your series of romance comedy novels. Does it help? Is it taking longer to write the 4th one than it is the first one? Does the fact that it is the 4th one impact your time management or your productivity in any way?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would say it's in the middle, right? It's not so much longer or so much shorter. Because I had this entire series mapped out in my head from the beginning, so I know what's going to happen. But something's changed along the way. Some characters did things, or things happened to them that I wasn't expecting. So some things had to be changed. But I don't know. In a way, it's easier because I'm more familiar with the characters. In a way, it's harder because now I'm going to have to say goodbye. So it comes and goes, Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, 5,000 words, baby, just like 2 hours. And then it's like, so I haven't written anything in this thing for 2 weeks. That's not good. So it comes and goes. But the first one wasn't a part of this series. It was an individual book. It's an individual book. And that one was the hardest, right? Because I had to actually learn how to write a novel, having only written screenplays previously. So the first one was the hardest to write, and it took the longest time.
And if it's standalone, you had to
first
like
novel
really
ever.
write an ending.
Yeah.
Which each
yeah,
book has
I
its
had to
own,
write
you know,
it.
like an official, like this is the end, wrap it up.
Oh yeah. And with the series, they can be like, each book can be enjoyed on its own. They can be
Gotcha.
standalones, but you can. But of course, I'm biased. I'm the mother of the books. I gave birth to them, so yeah, I'm totally okay with writers calling books their babies. By the way, I'm one of those. Unfortunately, my books are my babies. So yeah, it's better if you read them all, because they follow the same characters, just different
gotcha.
parts of their journey.
When would
I like
you
that
get
when a book can feel like complete, even if it's in a part of a series.
Yeah, definitely. I think we kind of owe the audience to give a complete experience. But it's also nice that each book is not a completely different, doesn't follow completely different characters.
Right. You still have that, like, okay, it's not over. I still get more of this.
Yeah, exactly.
When would you guess the fourth one will be done, or is that a question that doesn't work that way? Like, do you have a target, or?
Yeah, I'm really bad at guesses, but hopefully I will have finished it and published it before this year ends, hopefully, but I am not sure. Like those writers, who publish really fast, like 4 books in a year, I'm in awe. But I'm also spared by those writers. I think they have, like, I don't know, unlocked parts of their brains or budgets that I don't have access to yet.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they call it like rapid releasing. Yeah, that's the term. They release the books really rapidly, but yeah.
So it might be too early to answer this question, and it probably is, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But first, do you know Fiona Leach? I know you know a lot of Fiona. Fiona Leach, Death in Venice.
Yeah, I know her.
So
yeah. I read it.
do you heard what she found out this week? And so her first book, and she had no idea because it's been over, I don't even know. Some of these facts will be wrong, listeners, but it's been 10 or 12 years or whatever, right? And her publisher was like, you sold 100,000 of that first book. And she had no clue that she had sold 100,000 of those because it was spread out over all the time. But as she became more popular, the speed of the first book sped up. And so and I don't know the numbers, but in the last year, that first book jumped more than it had in all the previous 9 years, right? And so so do you see that? Not to that extent, but do you see that happening, or is it too early because there's only 3 so far?
I can only hope, and yes.
But
that's a dream come true.
But do you see them speeding up? Like when you released the third one, did that do anything to the first one, or?
It does, but the thing is, I have to really get better at marketing. Consistency is really one of my, enemies, like arch nemesis sort of stuff. And what I mean by consistency is like, okay, do an hour of book marketing. I think it's a personality thing. Like I can't, my brain doesn't work that way. But yeah, because you learn more, right? So you don't make the marketing mistakes you did with the first one. Then you learn things and you keep learning things. So each book launch becomes better than the previous ones. And of course, more people know you. And yeah, it's a combination of those. But you never know if a book is going to take off, when it's going to take off, from which book the readers are going to find you.
Interesting.
So for you, what are the what are the routines or productivity things that you do that you find the most helpful?
Right. I change my working space a lot. Right. I go to different coffee shops, and I like killing, multiple birds with one stone. So, for example, if a coffee shop is, let's say, by the sea, right, And if it's a safe place, you can just leave your stuff, not your wallet or phone, but just leave your stuff and take a walk by the beach, then come back, to the writing. That really does wonders in terms of productivity. You get fresh air, you look at nature, you see the sea, you have your therapy / entertainment / exercise, and then you have your work. You interact with people, the people watching and the eavesdropping things. So it becomes a really productive day. And you can also get some really good shots that you can use of your book, of yourself, of the city. So that's one, because you get moving, and you can also switch between coffee shops. We don't have to go to a place and stay there for 10 hours and annoy, the owners and the waiters. You can switch. You can also, you can just switch. You can try listening to music. You can try working in a quiet space, right? You can change the genres of music. I think a lot of it is experimenting and knowing yourself and finding what works for you.
I can't change my music.
What's that?
I said
that works for you.
Yeah, Pinar already knows I cannot change my music. It has to be the same.
The same music every time you write?
So, yeah. So how long ago was that, Pinar? 10 years ago? When you quoted me in your blog? 7 years ago?
That was for publication. Okay, that's 2017.
Oh, okay.
So that's 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Pinar, I was famous 7 years ago. Who knew? I didn't even know. So for 3 screenplays in a row, I played a specific song for the first one the entire time, and at some point you don't hear it anymore, right?
And the same song, not the same album, the same song.
The same song, the same specific song. One of them, it was a Warren Zevon song, and then the last one. So that one was, I don't remember what song it was when I got quoted in that article, but the last one was ABC's "The Look of Love," and and so after a while you don't hear it, right? But it triggers your brain into thinking it's time to go to work. Like when you hear that song, you're automatically thrown back into that story world, just like you are if you're driving in a car and you heard a song. I know a friend, and when she got in a car wreck, the song that was on the radio was "You Can't Get Here From There." And so every time she hears that song, she tenses up and she clenches up because she was in a car wreck when that song came on, right? So music will do that, and so why not use that for work?
Yeah.
The last screenplay, there was no music, so I had to have total silence. But yeah,
why? Was the genre different? Why do you think?
So actually, it was. I was going to say I don't know why. Good question. But yeah, so everything prior to then had been either a comedy or a rom-com, and that one still had a comedic rom-com underpinning, but no, it was a supernatural thriller, and I don't know, it just seemed. Right. It's not crazy serious, but it just seemed more serious, and I had to have a clear head for it. And so, yeah, it is a different genre.
Did the songs match the feel of the stories?
They had nothing to do.
Oh, because that's why I listen to music when I'm writing, is if I need to get in the zone on a certain scene and get excited about it or something.
Sometimes I put the song in the scene as well.
Oh.
So that's why I keep listening to
that.
it. The characters are listening to the song, right? So I listen to the song and it brings me right into the scene.
Oh, I love that so much.
William Martell listens to film soundtracks while he writes. And
that's what I usually do, yeah.
And
film soundtracks.
Because it's.
I would think about the film the whole time.
Well, I think I don't want to speak for him, but I think it's to the point where, because he's done it for 30 years, maybe longer, that it just puts him in the frame of mind. It's time to go to work, and he's writing for a film, so why not listen to a film score?
That makes sense.
Tell us about the progression. Well, first of all, tell us all 4 titles of the series,
Right.
but tell us about the progression of it.
Okay, so the first book, the first novel that I wrote is not a part of the series. It's set in New York. It's called Making a Difference. And the female protagonist is a college student. And the idea came to me when I was a college student. Yeah, very meta, I know. But yeah, I was really inspired during a class. And I took a lot from my own experiences, and it was the combination of a couple of what if questions. So what if this happened, and what if this happened? And it took me a long time to decide, is it going to be a series, a film, a book? Then I decided on the book. The series, the idea I had, actually, originally it came to me in middle school, right? And
Wow.
because when I was 15, I went to California and I spent a month there, right? It was sort of like an English speaking camp, plus it was the sort of transitional thing. Like if you were a foreign student and you wanted to go to college in the States, that course would be very beneficial. But it was mostly, foreign students just, talking to each other, experiencing. And after I came back, I had the idea, right? And that's why I was in Santa Barbara, and the series is set in San Diego, right? And I dealt with a lot of different types of people, and it has this really large, quirky ensemble cast. But yeah, after I came back, I had the idea, and my friends all knew I was a writer. I would just write the stories in screenplay format, print them out, and they would read it episode by episode, and they would tell me about their favorite characters, events, predictions, wishes, relationship ships, who do they want to end up with whom, and that kind of. It was amazing to get that instant feedback. And I would give them the cassette as well. Yes, I am that old. The cassette with the song in them, and they would listen to the song mentioned in the scene, because you couldn't download it right away, or there was no Spotify, so
It's the original
I gave
Spotify
them the whole interactive experience. So that's when that story started, and I started to write it as my second, third, and fourth novels.
So you don't know this, but Pinar, but Emily's older than I am, so I don't remember cassettes. where she'll after you go away, she can explain them to me. All right, continue.
Yeah,
It's not that funny, y'all.
Okay. So basically, I am not from the Generation Z, but I'm an older millennial, and so we have grown up with cassettes and stuff. So yeah, that was the experience, and yeah, I really love those characters, and they have been a huge part of me. So yeah, they came next.
And why did you decide this is? Well, you already had the story mapped out, but you told us earlier that it changed a little bit. But so why is this one the end? Like, without spoiling anything, like, why are you done with this set of characters?
Right. Okay. So, okay, I guess some of it comes from my aversion to Turkish TV. Let me explain. Turkish series on Netflix are pretty good, right? I have some really great recommendations, but cable TV, it's not like the States, right? We don't have 24 episodes each season, or 20 episodes that last like 40 minutes. We might have 35 episodes, but each episode lasts like 3.5 hours. Like 1 hour of full commercial and 2.5 hours of events.
Wow.
So which creates a lot of repetition, a lot of irrelevant events that are not meaningful at all, characters that just stare at each other when an annoying music plays in the background, kind of like how some horror directors just blast the music, and it's not you have to feel scared now, that kind of music. So it's kind of like it would work as a Netflix series, right? It would have maybe 3 seasons, 8 episodes each, and it will be wrapped up. So I had the idea, That's why it's short. Even when it was a series, it was like 20 episodes in total or something. So that's where the concept came from. Like, I didn't want things to drag on.
Yeah.
And that's why my novels are short too, like fewer than 60,000 words. Because even though it's romance, I don't talk about how hot, the guy looks with his shirt off. It's like one sentence is enough.
I appreciate that. That's more up my alley.
Right? I mean, I love rom-coms, but I don't need to read like 3 paragraphs about the shape of his lips or, how good she looks in jeans. Yeah, like every 3 pages.
Yeah.
Like, I know she has other characteristics. Why don't you tell me those,
Yeah, I just watched a rom-com that ended with the characters holding hands, and I was perfectly satisfied, so happy. It was the sweetest thing.
What was the rom-com?
So yeah, I watch Korean dramas,
Okay.
and this one was called Summer Strike. It's a 12-episode miniseries. They're also good about keeping things short, but then they also have those scenes where they're just staring at each other while music is playing. So I know what you're talking about.
You can do that. Like, if you can balance it, like if the timing is good, some staring is warranted, right?
Right.
But yeah, and I just watched this fun Spanish rom-com movie, and it ended with a kiss. And they just made it like 90 minutes. They had the meet cute.
Yep.
Everything was done really well. The characters didn't doubt themselves for 100 pages.
So did you grow?
Things were kept.
Did you grow up in Turkey?
Yeah, I have.
So this is interesting. So you grew up with your cultural inventory of these big, long, drawn out dramas, the way you describe them. But you, rather than jumping on the pile and adding to that, you rebelled against that and went in the other direction.
But we also grew up with lots of American TV and movies at the same time. So it's really embedded in Turkish culture to grow up with American movies and TV series. Like when I was 8, I was watching Beverly Hills 90210. Probably I shouldn't be watching it when I was 8, but I was.
Interesting. So
that might explain a few things.
So your cultural inventory was influenced from American television. I don't want to say more than Turkish, but equal or less or.
Well, I've always been a fan of like taking anything from a culture that you like and rebel against anything that you don't like. So there were things on American TV that I didn't like, so I left those out. Right? So I kept whatever I liked, and hopefully one day I will find the audience that also thinks like me. Happily ever afters, healthy relationships.
Sounds great.
PG-13 R, like if it were a movie, the nice line.
Yes.
2 words R, but not quite. Maybe the swearing. There's some swearing. Because, characters are from Kelly.
But before Pinar gives us our call to action, Emily, do you have one last question? Or Pinar, do you want to say one last thing that you just have to say before we let you go? Like, you're just dying to tell us.
Yeah, I want to say it's okay to procrastinate. Everyone does it. You will never be able to eliminate it 100%. Just learn to live with this fact.
What about productive procrastination?
Yes, it's not an oxymoron. It definitely exists, and I totally recommend it.
Okay.
So basically what I'm saying is don't hate watch things. Don't doom scroll. Don't do things that you hate just because it, causes a reaction in you, but actively pursue things that you find meaning in. Even if it's mindless entertainment. I find tremendous value in mindless entertainment. Well, it's entertaining, for one thing. Right? So if you love reality TV, if it makes you happy, watch that. But don't watch it because you hate it and you love to hate it. It's probably not going to help you much, in whatever you're trying to create. It will only help you if you are truly enjoying it, I think.
I like that because I'll get mad at myself for procrastinating instead of just going, I'm taking, like, I enjoy this and it's okay for me to just enjoy this.
Yeah, right. And it's usually your brain just telling you you should probably switch things up a little bit. Write another scene or work on another project or change genres or switch from fiction to nonfiction or vice versa.
Interesting.
Yeah, or change your setting, as you said earlier.
Yeah, change your setting, right?
I
Change the music. Not John, but other people. They might change the music.
All right. So your call to action cannot be leave your laptop in a coffee shop and go walk around the beach for an hour and a half.
Don't leave your laptop. Like, it's not Singapore, so obviously take your laptop. But actually, a lot of people do leave their laptops. It depends. You can just ask someone to watch your laptop for you. But it's my baby. That one is also my baby, my laptop, my office, because I'm like a turtle. I carry things with me, so I don't leave it out. But you can actually in most places.
Wow.
Oh,
but
right.
I'm not taking responsibility for your laptop.
So challenge our listeners and viewers. Give them a call to action, Pinar.
Right.
All the way from Turkey.
I want them to share something about writing. It can be productivity related. It might not be. Something that goes against the advice that they hear, but it works for them. Something unconventional, but works for them. I want to hear what that is. Is it not writing every day? Is it, not giving breaks for 4 hours, but then going running for like 2 hours to combat the fatigue? Like, whatever. I want that.
All right,
fantastic.
There you go.
I love that.
Even if it's not writing related, like if they drink coffee and then they can't fall asleep immediately, I would also love to hear that.
Yes.
Like anything unconventional.
Great. So,
for them.
Listeners, you can respond to that on our Facebook page under the announcement of this episode, or you can go to writebettertogether.com/podcast to see our list of episodes. You can find this episode, and that will show you the show notes, and you can comment below the show notes. And either of those are great options where we'll see it and we'll be able to respond to it and share it next time.
And Pinar, where can people find you online?
Right. So I have a writing blog. It's editorial.tarhan.com. Right? That's the website I'm on. On Instagram, I'm Pinar Tarhan Writes, right? And my books are all available on Amazon.
All right. Say the beginning of that part one last time.
The website?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Writing.pinartarhan.com. So writing.myname-surname.com.
All right, and we'll put all the links in the show notes as well.
Yes.
And there you go.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Are you going to sleep now?
Thanks for having me.
Are you going to sleep now?
No, I will probably procrastinate.
Oh.
Long way. I wish I could go to sleep at 10 p.m. It would be great.
Good night, Pinar.
What are you guys doing?
Well, 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, so we're more episodes.
Right. So
yep, we'll probably be here for a little longer.
Bye. Good night.
Well, thanks again.
And we're back. Wow, I learned so much this time. I learned a lot the first time too.
I love having other people on because we don't have that many episodes. We still have lots of things to say, but it's really neat to hear things. Like, she said things that I never would have come up with.
Correct. I agree. And also we have so many episodes that these followers have not even seen yet. That's
so true.
And so,
yep. They're just keep making.
You wait, people. They're coming.
And if you want to stay up to date on what episodes are coming next, be sure to subscribe to YouTube.
And the newsletter thing.
Oh, to our newsletter. Yes. You can go to writebettertogether.com. And on that homepage, if you scroll down, there's a subscription button, and you can subscribe to get a newsletter that gives you updates not only on when we have new episodes, but we'll also keep you updated on any other projects that we're working on or community things that we want to share.
When we do show notes, are they linked to the newsletter in any way?
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. That's a reason to subscribe right there. We promise we're not going to like spam you.
No, it's only necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not going to get one every day for sure.
I mean, we could be like, hey, you missed an episode. Still haven't watched that episode, have you?
Hey,
did you watch the episode? How was it? Do you want to...
Hey, Mary in Springfield, we noticed you didn't watch the last episode. What's wrong with you? And then we'll send you that episode. That's not going to happen. We're not going to show up in your doorstep, I promise. And so subscribe. What's next? What's next? What do we do
Jon
next?
Meyers.
What?
This is going to be a tough one because I don't have pictures to show you, but the viewers will have pictures because I'll add them later.
Okay.
All right. Imagine, if you will, the first town. I don't know why all of these end up being about history. I think it's because I listened to a history podcast. This is coming.
It's because you look backwards and I look forward.
Yeah, we've discussed this. Yes. I also listened to a history podcast called "You're Dead to Me," and that's where it's one of the sources where I learned about Incan Kipu, but it's also where I learned about the first town.
That's the episode that Cindy Begel, who wrote for, I keep saying she wrote for Laverne and Shirley, like she didn't write for anything else. She's written for every, like,
yes,
just Mork and Mindy. Speaking of Robin Williams,
yeah,
like the Martin Short show, all of them. So yeah, she watched the one about the Incan language.
Makes me so happy.
Yep.
All right, so imagine the first town, and what are some things we take for granted? What are some things that you just think every town has? Fill in the blank.
The first town ever in the history of the world?
Yeah.
Well,
like the first little city.
So since Emily's older than I am, she was there where I was not.
Okay. By the way, speaking of Pinar, this is in Turkey.
So the first town ever in the whole world was in Turkey, but it wasn't called Turkey then, probably.
No.
Was it called Springfield? Springfield,
no.
Turkey?
No.
So isn't it in Mesopotamia? Isn't that the first town?
I don't know. This is the first city. Like, I don't know if town's the right word, but I don't know if city's the right word. But like
Village.
Civilized, like buildings all together and people were living together.
Okay, I think so. I'm supposed to tell you what was there?
Yeah, like what do you think of? Like, this is when you describe a town, it has these things.
Billboard, no. Taxi cabs, no. So I think so. It doesn't have water because they would have to cart water. So I think they would have a place for hauling animals that hauled things. I think they would be in a fence somewhere. So I think so to answer your question, I think there would be a fence.
Okay.
and some kind of roof over the people's heads and a farmer's market.
Okay. How would they get around?
On a single wheel, like in the comic strip BC. Like a unicycle.
Okay, you're assuming that they have something that every town usually has.
Horses. Donkeys.
How do you get from place to place?
Roads.
Yes.
They didn't have roads.
They didn't have roads.
I didn't think they had roads.
To me, this whole story is fascinating because the people here did things that, like, you just think that we just knew what a town was, right? When we were developing these things, like, oh, just obviously you're going to have roads. And no, like, they didn't have roads. What they did was all of the buildings were so packed in, so close together that they walked on the roofs. And to get inside of the buildings, they had little hatches that they would have to get down. So you would actually go down into your house. Yeah.
So your front door was in your roof.
Your front door was in your roof. Sorry.
We're from different tribes. We have different accents, just like the whales.
And there's so much more to it. So many things. I'll tell you one more factoid, and then you need to listen to the episode on You're Dead to Me, because I don't want to like steal their thunder or anything. But where did they bury the people? They buried people under the floors.
You're making all of this
I'm not
up.
making it up.
This is the game at the end where you make up something and I just see which fact I will fall for. Yeah. So their front door was in the roof.
Yeah.
Their graveyard was under the floor. So they had floors.
Yeah, they had floors.
In a town called Springfield.
It's called Çatalhöyük or Çatalhöyük.
And that was the first town.
/ city, whatever they called it. And they were perfectly peaceful and everybody was equal. There's no evidence that there's any sort of like higher leadership or higher class. There was just everybody worked together. I'm actually writing a short story inspired by it now because I think it's so cool.
Did they have water?
The episode, I don't remember them talking about how they accessed water. So that's a really good question.
So why do we think... I didn't think there was roads because I've seen where trails turned into roads years later, right? So trails were just like around mountains and stuff. So I didn't think there was roads. I didn't think they hop parkour style from roof to roof.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, when they leave the city, because my husband made the point, they didn't say this in the podcast, but I was like, you might be right about this. He was like, I bet that protected them from wild animals, that there weren't really any access points. But outside of the city, there were probably, like you said, those trails from where they would go from one place to another to go to their animals, because they were one of the first people. They were some of the first people to have, like, they would farm, they cultivated the land, and they had animals and things like that. So there you go.
Do you know who Daniel Kahneman is?
Mm-mm.
So when on a future episode, depending when this episode airs, Carrie Drobin, criminologist lawyer, will be on, and she's either talked to him or studied him or underneath him, and so he's the guy who has coined the concept of what you see is all you know. So whatever the WYSIAYK. And what you see is all you know is your world is based on what you've seen. And there's always more to the story. Always more to the story. In a previous episode when I told the story about going to the recyclery, right? There's version 1 took 2 sentences. Well, there was more to the story, wasn't there? And so Kahneman says that we often fall prey to what you see is all you know.
And as a fantasy writer, and I'm sure we have fantasy writers who listen in, or at least speculative writers in general, part of creating a world is taking away the things that you take for granted. So like, what would a world be like where we didn't have roads? Or what would a world be like where it stormed every day? Or change things that you assume about the world that you're used to and see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. All right. I have a final act game for you.
Yes. I like games.
Kind of like yours last time. I'm going to show you 3 things.
Okay.
I'm going to show you 3 books.
I believe, though, you're going to tell me the prize that I win.
Oh, the prize?
First. Because I'm not playing if I don't get a prize.
The prize is...
What is that?
It's a melted beeswax candle.
And then...
Because birds can't have candles. And so my husband and I decided that... Or like birds can't be around candles. So we got beeswax candles so that they wouldn't kill my birds. But they don't smell like anything.
Good.
So there you go.
Because I don't like strong fragrances.
Perfect.
So
it's just pretty.
So I hope I win.
There you go. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 books.
Okay.
One of the books I read last year.
Okay.
One of the books I read halfway through, got so sad that I took a couple months until I went back to finish it, and then I loved it. The other book highly inspired the book that I'm writing right now.
Oh, an influence.
An influence.
The book that influenced
almost a comp
the influencer.
title.
And now I'm doing multiple choice. I'm ranking, or I'm connecting which one is which one.
So, yeah. All right. So the first one is
A Thousand
Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I don't know if I pronounced that.
Nailed it.
Pronounced that. 1,000.
Khalid, if you're out there, come on our show and correct us.
Oh my word, please do. The second book, The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivy.
Oh, you couldn't say Khalid, but you could say Eowyn?
Yeah, because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
That person has all the vowels.
The last one is The Diving Bell by Todd Strasser. All right. So which one did I read last year? Which one inspired my current work in progress? And which one made me so sad that I had to take a break? Do you need to see them all?
This is where you play the NPR music.
Do.
The Jeopardy music.
Yeah, do.
I'm gonna go with so leave them, keep them held up like that, and then okay. Tell me like each of the three categories, and I'll tell you which one it is.
Okay, the book that I read last year.
The Snow Child.
Correct. My sister got it for me for Christmas, and I read it, and it took me.
I feel so good.
I ended up. I read it, started reading it in the winter, but then I ended up reading it when it was warm outside, which is kind of weird. But it was very good.
I don't remind me the next category. One that made you cry so much.
Oh, the one that made me cry and like have an existential crisis.
That's The 1,000 Splendid Suns.
I made this too easy. Absolutely, duh.
Because the kite runner is tragic.
It's so good, but it is like it's tough. It's really hard to read.
And then the last one is, what's the category? I forgot. The last one is The Diving Bell, but I forgot the category.
Highly inspired the book I'm writing now.
Oh, it inspired the book you're writing.
Yeah. The end. So, because my characters live on an island where they have to dive for fish in a very dangerous setting, and they use diving pods. I say diving pods instead of diving bells, but yeah, they use the similar techniques to dive for their food. This actually can't be a comp title. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's a story about
it's young adult.
Huh?
It's young adult.
Mine's young adult.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically, I love this book, but it's about Pacific Islanders, and I'm pretty sure Todd Strasser is not, and I'm not, and I don't want to imply that I'm trying to culturally
it's not your story
appropriate.
To tell.
Yeah. It's also why I can't use Moana, even though that would also be a great comp title.
So that's important because the people push back on this all the time, but why the most important question you need to be prepared to answer, like if you're pitching your script, I know yours is a novel, but if you're pitching your script to a producer, is why you, why now? Like, why is this your story to tell, and why is 2024 the time to tell it, or 5 years from now when the movie comes out, why is it time to tell it? And people will be like, no, that's not true. Well, try walking into a meeting, being in the room, and you don't have that answer, and the guy asks you that, or the woman asks you that. You're going to wish you had an answer to that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
So the diving bell reminds me of, and this has a teachable moment to it. The diving bell and the butterfly. Have you read that?
I've never read it because it sounded too sad because my mom read it and told me about it, and I was like, I can't. Or not sad, but just heavy.
Right. So it's by Jean-Dominique Bobet, who was Bobby, who was a fashion editor for his entire life until he became paralyzed and he could only blink his eyes. True story. He was a total jerk in his life, and he portrayed himself in this book as true. He was even a jerk after he became paralyzed.
Wow.
He was a jerk to the woman that he dictated it to. He was a jerk to his exes. The book ends. He really never redeems himself. The movie kind of puts a little spin on it to where there's a small moment of redemption. But I used this book in the classroom when people are like, when an assignment is too hard, like, oh, I didn't know what to write. It was just too hard. Or I couldn't, I had an XYZ. It's too hard. So the way Bobby wrote this book is he blinked it. He wrote his own language, just like your not thread language. Speaking of languages and previously, the not thread language and the sweater language. He created his own language and then blinked this book.
Yeah.
To a transcriptionist who had to learn the language. So first he had to teach her the language through blinking, and then she had to. And when she messed up or she transliterated something wrong, he would get mad and chew her out in blinking, and all of that's in the book. And but she still did it, and so like, I don't want to hear you can't write a 12-page paper when this guy totally paralyzed was able to blink a book in a remarkable amount of time. And so that's when you said I didn't know that your diving bell was going to be in there, but when you said it was one of the books was so sad before you showed us the books that you had to put it down, I actually thought you were going to say this one. And so lo and behold, there was a diving bell book. And because that's like the saddest thing I've ever read or seen.
Well, wait till you
you just wait.
Is that the thing about reading books like this, is that even though they're so hard to read, I find so much hope in the end when, like, this one's fiction, but you see the characters who have gone through so many terrible things still make good decisions and still come out the other side. And to me, that's really beautiful and hopeful. And so that's why I would still recommend this book, but not for the faint of heart.
There you go.
There you go.